Deep cleansing breath. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. No, it's not that I'm supposed to be somewhere else. It's that I'm not supposed to be here. A dozen years ago, I sat in a doctor's office, and he said, "You have a progressive illness that will kill you, and you should go get your affairs in order." And it wasn't going to be one of those really dramatic, wonderful movies, yes. It was going to be long and slow and ugly. But I lived. And this is the idea I want to share with you. I want you to live too. I want you to live too. Now, people usually say, "Oh, wow, when you face death, you really kind of understood what life was all about. Is that when you faced death and figured out what life is about?" And I said, "No, I was really lucky." Well, kind of lucky. I was married to a mortician. Is that lucky? I don't know. So when I was a young woman in my 20s, I was married to a mortician, a funeral director, and we lived above the funeral home. And people would say to me, "You must learn so much about death." And I would say, "No, actually we don't, because the dead people don't talk much." But I did learn being surrounded by death, because I learned from the people who did talk. And they would come in and they would say, "Oh, God, if only I hadn't said that when he walked out the door." They would say, "Oh, I wish we had taken that vacation we've planned. Oh, I just wish I had. I wish I hadn't." I heard all this regret in people's lives. And I decided, when my time comes, I don't want to have regrets. I want to walk out the door every time I leave my family, and every time I leave my friends, and in every interaction I do, I want to walk out knowing that I could feel okay if their life or mine ended. There would be nothing left unsaid. There'd be nothing left undone. So I urge you to think about, what could you do in your life to change from living a life where you might have some things you'd regret if you didn't fix them now? And can you take that today and start to live your life so you won't have regret? Now, the next thing you learn, next thing you learn is that if you're clumsy, you have a hard time with microphones. Next thing you learn when you're married to a mortician is that people can do pre-planned funerals. And so if you want, you can go into your local mortuary and you can say, "Oh, I like that casket, and I like this Bible verse and that song, and I like this really pretty girl to sing at my funeral," or whatever, right? But see, here's the thing they don't tell you. You don't get to pick the date. So that doesn't help much. And what I learned is that lots of people who came to spend the night in our funeral home didn't plan to be there that night. They planned to be somewhere else. They planned to be in their own beds. And what I learned is that people came at all every status. Death is equal opportunity. It's going to come get you. Yeah. Question is just when. And I decided what I wanted to do was I wanted to live my life so that if it ended in a short way, if it was a short life, I have done the things I wanted to do. And my friend said, "Oh, when I retire, I'm going to travel." And I'd be thinking, who knows, I'll make it that long. I think I'm going to travel now, right? And I stopped putting things off and decided to live my life as if every day might be my last. Now, here's another thing that I saw about people as it relates to life. Most of you are waiting. Am I right? How many of you are waiting for the weekend? Right? You're waiting for summer. You're waiting to get out of college. You're waiting till your mother's, or your grandmother's birthday party is over. You're waiting and waiting till the house remodeling's over. You're waiting. I talk to people all the time and say, "How you doing?" "Okay. Oh, it doesn't sound too great. I'll be so glad when we get this project done." And this person is not spending the day they're in that day. They're just waiting till that better day sometime in the future, that superior day, when they won't be waiting anymore. Guess what? Life is what happens to you while you're waiting for something else. That's what life is. It's all the days that you spend waiting for something else. And I decided I wanted to live every day. I wanted to live every day. Now let's fast forward a little bit. We're not back in the 70s anymore. We're in the early 90s. But before we get to my story, here's what I want you to do. I want everybody to close your eyes, look down at your lap. Well, you can't look at your lap if your eyes are closed, but okay, put your head down. And I want you to think of the 3 most important things in the world. If I said, what are the 3 most important things to you? You got them? 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to tell you a story. In the early 90s, I was kind of a regular American mom, had 3 kids. It was a work day, school day, so we were in a hurry trying to get out the door, right? Because we had a kid to get to school and 2 kids to get to childcare, and I got to get to work. Everybody's running late. You know what this looks like, right? And we blast out of the door really quick, and we're driving down the road, and we get a little ways, and my middle daughter says, "I don't have my blankie." Now, if you've never had kids, you don't know what that means. You might think she just wants a blanket, but that is not what this means. Her blankie has been left behind. Her security has been left behind. So she's crying, and I'm explaining, honey, we can't go back. I'll be late to work. You shouldn't walk off with it. She's crying harder, and I'm explaining louder. She's sobbing, and all of a sudden I think, you know what? If Dateline or 60 Minutes had a camera coming over my shoulder right now, I would not be parenting like this. So I kind of stepped back a little bit from myself. I thought, what am I doing? If I don't show up at work on time, those 30 college students sitting in that classroom are not going to burst into tears. Trust me on this. But I've got a daughter, my very own daughter. And when I said, what are the most important things in my life? My 3 kids were the most important things in my life. And I wasn't going to go back for this very blankie because I was too busy. I was too late. And I realized, I say that my kids are the most important things in my life, but I don't really live that way. If somebody had said, we're taking you to court and we're going to charge you with prioritizing your children, I'd have walked off scot-free. There wouldn't have been any evidence to convict me. And I decided that day I wanted to be guilty. I wanted people to look at me and say, God, that woman really loves her kids. But you know what I found is that if I'm trying to do all A's at work, you know what I mean by A's, right? We all grade, kids get graded in school. We all want to get the very top grade at work when we go in for that annual evaluation, right? So if we are trying to get those A's at work, most of us as Americans are doing our F work at home. I'm a social worker. I don't ever get called in to stop people from fighting and yelling at each other on a work site. We get called into people's homes. Now, we treat the people we love more than anyone worse than we would ever treat a stranger. And I invite you today, think back to those 3 things that you said were the most important things in your life. And ask yourself, would you be guilty? If someone charged you with prioritizing those 3 things, would you have left a trail of evidence? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead to the year 2000. I'm back to that day I'm sitting in the doctor's office, and he says I should go prepare for my death. So, wow, that's when you're 40 years old, it's kind of hard to know exactly how to prepare. Oh, maybe I was 50. I'm not good at math, okay? So how do you prepare? I mean, what do I have to prepare for? I mean, I'm not going to be at their graduations, not going to be at their weddings, not going to be there when their babies are born. Well, maybe that's what I have to prepare for. So I began to do things so that my daughters would know that they were the 3 most important things in my life. And I sewed blankies like this, for all the grandbabies I'd never hold. I wrote cards to my girls to be sent to them on their birthdays, and a card for when they bought their first house, when they graduated from college. And I prepared as best I could. And people said, well, what are the things you want to do? You know? And I would say, nothing. I'd done it. I didn't need a bucket list. I had lived. I had lived. I didn't wait, and I wasn't in any regret. Now, life's funny. Because, you know, sometimes you get a twist in the plot. Here comes a twist in the plot. I didn't die. Nobody knows why, but I didn't die. But my middle daughter did.
She was hugging every one of them snack before she was leaving, and they even, when they were on the bus, they were doing a heart-shaped sign out the window to us.
That was the last thing Sarah Pike remembers about 21-year-old Sarah Martinson.
She kept telling us, I don't want to leave, but this has been one of the best days of my life. I don't want to go to these other places. I've enjoyed being here. I want to stay here.
The college student spent the last day of her life in Northport. The next day, she was hit and killed by a car while jogging. As Pike and staff members looked through the pictures, they see Sarah's personality shining through.
It seems like she just stood out in all of them. You know, when we were going through them, her face just shined in all of them, and we were immediately able to find her in the different pictures.
One of the projects Sarah helped with was painting pots that Eagle Wings is going to use for a fundraiser.
She was actually one of the only ones that put her name on the particular pot that we're actually firing now in the kill to send to her family, and that image just keeps sticking out to me.
And because of that, staff members say they're going to send it along with a memory book to her family.
We're going to ask some of the kids to tell us some of their memories, and we're going to be sending that to them.
People that met Sarah Tuesday say she was larger than life.
She had one of the girls that wouldn't do anything. She had them up dancing with her.
When they were about to leave, she was one of the next to the last to get on the bus, and she was still snapping pictures of us while we were waving goodbye to them.
Little did Terrence know it would be goodbye forever. Matt McCoy, WVUA News.
Yes, my family went through that worst nightmare that we all fear. 3 police officers walking up to your door. You don't even have to ask why they're there. You know why they're there. All you ask is which one. Now, people have said to me about this, like they said to me when I was sick, why you? And I say, why not me? Death doesn't say, well, I think I'm going to take that guy or that girl. You know, death comes to all of us. And you know, when I was sick, I thought, why not me? I've lived more in 50 years than many people had in 100. Why not me? But they'd say, but why Sarah? She was so young. Yes, she was. But what's interesting about Sarah's death is how much she has impacted the lives of people who are still alive. Not just her family, not just her friends, but people all over who heard her story of going on a service trip and losing her life. And that's what I hope I can leave you with today, is that Sarah gave us an example of how to live every day. You know, one of the things that bothered me the first week after she died, well, everything bothered me the first week after she died. But you know how you get some little thing stuck and you just kind of irritates you? And when she said it was the best day of her life, I'm thinking, how could that be the best day of her life? We went to Disney World. Remember that Barbie party I did for you? What about all the tickle fests on the bed? What do you mean the best day of your life was strangers and I wasn't there? And then I realized, what better day would there be to die than on the best day of your life? Because she was living life every day. She wasn't waiting for some other day. She was just doing volunteer work with simple people who appreciated what she was doing. And here's what I think. I think Sarah lived what I've been trying to tell you about how to live. So the idea that I hope is we're sharing for you is remember, you don't know when it's coming. Sarah taught us that. Might be short. So you better live every day of your life like she lived that day, as if it could be the best day. And don't live with regret. Don't wait. Go out and live for Sarah, who doesn't get to live. Live for Sarah, today and forever. Thank you.